Stone is one of the hardest materials humans have ever built with. Granite only melts at temperatures above 1200 degrees Celsius. Yet in several ancient ruins, the stone itself appears melted. Walls fuse together like glass, as if exposed to extreme heat. These sites are separated by more than 6,000 kilometers. Some date back nearly 3,000 years. Others were destroyed around 1900 BC. Some scientists believe a cosmic airburst could explain the damage. Others suggest ancient cities burned in catastrophic firestorms. But in several locations, those explanations fall apart. Across the ancient world, 8 mysterious ruins show the same strange signature. Over the past 100 years, archaeologists have uncovered ruins showing signs of extreme heat damage. In several locations, stone appears fused at temperatures above 1,000 degrees Celsius. These ruins span civilizations separated by thousands of years, and they appear on continents separated by over 6,000 kilometers. Each site tells a story of destruction that happened in a single moment. Some researchers believe the cause could be cosmic airbursts. Others suggest massive fires during ancient wars, and in a few cases, scientists are still debating what actually happened. But not every claim about these ruins is equally convincing. Some stories come from ancient texts written over 2,000 years ago. Others come directly from modern archaeological discoveries. Some of these sites have clear explanations. Others remain genuinely difficult to explain. In this video, we will examine 8 ancient ruins where extreme heat left its mark. And by the end, you'll see which mysteries are exaggerated and which ones still challenge history. In 1922, archaeologists uncovered one of the largest cities of the Indus Valley civilization. The city stood along the Indus River in what is now Sindh, Pakistan. Around 2500 BC, nearly 40,000 people may have lived here. The streets followed a precise grid pattern, planned over 4,500 years ago. Its drainage system was more advanced than many cities built 3,000 years later. The famous Great Bath shows remarkable engineering for the year 2500 BC. For nearly 700 years, Mohenjo-daro thrived as a major urban center. Then around 1900 BC, the city suddenly declined and was abandoned. When excavations began, archaeologists discovered human skeletons scattered across the site. Some appeared to lie in the streets, as if people collapsed suddenly. Researchers also found fragments that looked melted or vitrified. Over time, some writers began proposing a dramatic explanation. They suggested the city may have been destroyed by an ancient nuclear-like blast. The theory claimed temperatures exceeded 1,500 degrees Celsius. Some even linked the event to descriptions from ancient Indian epics. Texts written more than 2,000 years ago describe powerful weapons of light. For decades, this idea spread across documentaries and books. But when scientists examined the evidence closely, the story looked very different. Later studies showed the skeletons did not die in a single moment. Many were buried in layers separated by hundreds of years. Evidence suggests the city suffered repeated flooding events. The Indus River has shifted its course many times in the last 4,000 years. Around 2000 BC, climate changes weakened the entire Indus civilization. Cities across the region slowly declined over several centuries, and no scientific study has confirmed radiation or nuclear damage. Instead, the evidence points toward gradual collapse rather than sudden destruction. Mohenjo-daro remains one of the most famous ancient cities ever discovered, but the idea of a prehistoric nuclear explosion has no scientific support. The real story is far more complex than a single catastrophic event. Yet Mohenjo-daro teaches an important lesson about ancient mysteries. Sometimes a real archaeological puzzle grows into a much larger legend, and the next ancient city may reveal evidence of a catastrophe that really did happen in a single moment. About 14 kilometers northeast of the Dead Sea lies an ancient city called el-Hammam. This Bronze Age city once stood in the fertile Jordan Valley, around 1650 BC. At its peak, nearly 40,000 people may have lived in this powerful regional center. Some researchers believe this city may be linked to the biblical story of Sodom. The book of Genesis describes a city destroyed by fire falling from the sky. For centuries, historians assumed the story was only symbolic or mythological, but excavations that began in 2005 uncovered evidence of a sudden catastrophe. A destruction layer nearly 1.5 meters thick covered the entire ancient city. Many pottery fragments appear partially melted into glass-like surfaces. Some mud bricks were exposed to temperatures above 2,000 degrees Celsius. Scientists also found shocked quartz, a mineral formed under extreme pressure. Large sections of the city wall appear to have been blown outward. Debris from buildings was scattered across distances of nearly 200 meters. Evidence suggests the destruction happened in an extremely short moment. Researchers also found unusually high salt levels in the surrounding soil, This may have made the region uninhabitable for nearly 600 years. So what kind of event could produce this level of destruction? One scientific explanation suggests something exploded high above the city. Scientists propose a meteor airburst similar to the 1908 Tunguska event. That explosion flattened forests across more than 2,000 square kilometers. If a similar object exploded above tall el-Hammam, the heat could exceed 2,000 degrees Celsius. The blast wave could destroy buildings in less than 1 second. A powerful thermal pulse could ignite everything within several kilometers. The Dead Sea region also contains large amounts of mineral salts. An airburst could spread salt across farmland in seconds. That may explain why the region remained largely abandoned for centuries. But even with this theory, not every archaeologist agrees on the interpretation. Some researchers argue the evidence could have other explanations. Interpreting ancient destruction layers is often extremely complicated. Different teams sometimes reach different conclusions from the same data, but the extreme heat signatures remain difficult to ignore. An explosion in the sky could erase a city in less than 5 minutes. Whether or not this was the Sodom of Genesis, the destruction layer suggests a city that may have been erased in minutes by an event from the sky. High in the Scottish Highlands stand dozens of mysterious ancient hill forts. More than 70 sites across Scotland show the same unusual feature. Their stone walls appear partially melted and fused together. Most were built between 700 BC and 300 BC during the Iron Age. Instead of loose stones, parts of the walls have turned into glass-like rock. The stones appear bonded together, as if exposed to intense heat. For nearly 250 years, archaeologists have studied this strange phenomenon, and unlike many ancient mysteries, this one is completely real. The process is called vitrification, when stone partially melts into glass. Granite begins to soften at temperatures above 1,050 degrees Celsius. At these temperatures, minerals fuse together into a glassy structure. The vitrified walls show signs of exactly this type of heat damage. Some vitrified sections stretch across walls more than 30 meters long. The heat appears concentrated deep inside the stone structures, which raises a simple but puzzling question. How could Iron Age people generate temperatures above 1,000 degrees Celsius? In the 1930s, researchers began trying to recreate vitrified walls. They built stone walls and surrounded them with huge piles of wood. Thousands of kilograms of timber were burned for many hours. Eventually, parts of the stones did begin to fuse together, but the process required enormous amounts of fuel. Some experiments estimated over 10,000 kilograms of wood for a single wall. And many forts contain several hundred meters of stone walls, which raises an even bigger question about the purpose of such fires. Some archaeologists believe enemy attacks may have burned these forts. A siege could ignite massive fires inside the walls, but in several sites, the heat appears surprisingly controlled. Some researchers suggest the builders intentionally vitrified the walls. The process may have strengthened the structure like ancient concrete. The vitrified forts are one of the rare mysteries where the melting is certain, but the reason remains unknown. So far, we've seen 3 ancient sites where extreme heat left strange evidence behind. In each case, temperatures may have exceeded 1,000 degrees Celsius. Some scientists point to cosmic airbursts, similar to the 1908 Tunguska explosion. Others argue that massive ancient fires could explain the damage. But when you map these ruins across 3 continents, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. Several other sites show similar signs of sudden destruction, and the next location may reveal an event that happened in just a few seconds. High above the city of Cusco in Peru stands the massive fortress of Sacsayhuamán. The fortress sits at an elevation of nearly 3,700 meters in the Andes Mountains. Its massive zigzag walls stretch across more than 400 meters of hillside. Some of the stones weigh over 100 tons. The largest blocks may reach nearly 300 tons. Many were transported from quarries located 15 to 20 kilometers away. The construction is usually dated to the Inca Empire around 1400 AD. Even by modern standards, the scale of this stonework is astonishing. But the real mystery appears when you examine how the stones fit together. The blocks are cut with extremely precise interlocking shapes. In many places, even a sheet of paper cannot pass between the stones. Each block has multiple angles, sometimes 10 to 12 sides, yet the stones lock together perfectly without mortar. This design helps the walls survive earthquakes common in the Andes. Several major earthquakes have struck the region in the last 500 years, yet many Inca stone walls remain standing today. This extraordinary precision has inspired many theories. Most archaeologists believe the stones were shaped using hammerstones, but some surfaces appear unusually smooth or slightly rounded. A few researchers suggest parts of the stone look almost melted. They argue the edges resemble stone softened by heat. The fortress walls are made mostly from andesite, a volcanic rock. Andesite typically melts at temperatures above 1,000 degrees Celsius, which raises the question of whether heat could have shaped the surface. However, Most archaeologists remain skeptical of that interpretation. Experimental studies show that careful hammering can produce similar textures, so the evidence for actual melting remains debated. What is not debated is the incredible scale of the construction. Moving blocks weighing over 100 tons required extraordinary organization. Thousands of workers may have spent decades building the fortress. The site remains one of the greatest engineering achievements of the ancient Americas, and it continues to challenge modern builders, even today. Even without the more extreme theories, Sacsayhuamán remains one of the most astonishing stone sites ever built. Few ancient disaster stories spread online faster than the Rajasthan radiation claim. The story usually points to a desert region in northwestern India. According to the claim, an ancient city there was destroyed by extreme heat. Some versions even say radiation levels are still unusually high today. From there, the story jumps to one dramatic conclusion, that India may preserve evidence of an ancient nuclear-style detonation. It is a powerful story, and that is exactly why it spreads. The problem is that viral stories often move faster than actual archaeology, and this one is usually tied to ancient texts that sound astonishingly modern. The main source people cite is the Mahabharata, composed over 2,000 years ago. It describes weapons with blinding light, fire, and devastating destruction. To modern viewers, those images can sound strangely familiar. That is why some people compare these descriptions to nuclear weapons. The comparison is emotionally powerful, but emotional does not mean historical. Ancient epics often use exaggerated language to describe divine or heroic warfare. Fire from the sky appears in religious and mythic literature across many cultures, and these texts were written and edited long after the events they describe. So the text may explain why the story is popular, but not why it is true. To prove a real ancient blast, you would need physical evidence, not just dramatic verses. And this is where the Rajasthan story starts to fall apart. There is no widely accepted excavation report confirming an ancient nuclear event. There is no strong peer-reviewed study showing blast radiation from antiquity. There is no verified sample set proving stone was melted by nuclear heat, and the story is usually repeated without clear dates, locations, or primary sources. Most versions trace back to recycled internet claims, not hard archaeological evidence. Compared with sites like el-Hammam or the Scottish forts, this case is much weaker, and that distinction matters if you want viewers to trust the rest of the video. This is one of the internet's favorite ancient catastrophe stories, but compared with the earlier sites, the evidence here is far weaker. The ancient texts are real, but the leap from poetry to physics is huge, which makes the next case more interesting, because it returns us to physical ruins. And in Egypt, some stones may preserve signs of heat that are much harder to dismiss. In the Nile Delta lies the ancient city of Tanis, a capital shrouded in mystery. An important capital during the 21st dynasty, it was a power center for 300 years. In 1939, excavations revealed royal tombs rivaling the treasures of Tutankhamun. But beneath the gold, researchers found unusual signs of intense heat damage. Stones normally formed underground appeared altered by extreme temperatures. This raised a question. What kind of destruction once struck this great city? Some link Tanis to the Bronze Age collapse, when civilizations suddenly vanished. From Greece to the Hittite Empire, cities were abandoned around 1200 BC. Egypt itself fought off the Sea Peoples during this era of global upheaval. Centuries of erosion make it hard to isolate events, but the mystery remains. Tanis sits at the heart of one of history's greatest and most mysterious eras. It remains a witness to a forgotten apocalypse that changed the world forever. By this point, we've looked at 8 ancient sites across 3 continents. Some show melted stone. Others show sudden destruction layers. But these mysteries are not all equal. When you examine the evidence closely, they fall into 3 categories: internet myths, debated destruction, and genuine thermal mysteries. The first category includes stories that spread mainly online. The Rajasthan radiation story is the most famous example. It often relies on interpretations of texts written over 2,000 years ago, but it lacks verified excavation reports or scientific measurements. Without solid data, extraordinary claims remain speculation. That places this case firmly in the exaggerated category. The second category contains real archaeological destruction. Cities like Mohenjo-daro declined around 1900 BC. Sites such as Tel Halaf also show intense burning layers. Tanis sits inside the wider collapse of civilizations around 1200 BC, and Sacsayhuamán reveals extraordinary engineering with debated heat marks. In these cases, the damage is real, but the cause remains uncertain. Fire, war, climate change, or natural disasters may explain them. The third category contains the most intriguing thermal evidence. el-Hammam shows materials exposed to temperatures above 2,000 degrees Celsius. A cosmic airburst, similar to the 1908 Tunguska event, is one explanation. The Scottish vitrified forts show stone fused by heat above 1,000 degrees Celsius. More than 70 forts across Scotland share this unusual feature. And even today, researchers debate why these walls were melted. Not every ancient mystery belongs in the same category. And understanding that difference is what separates evidence from legend. Across this video, we examined 8 ancient sites scattered across thousands of kilometers, from Scotland to Peru to the Middle East. Some show stone altered by temperatures above 1,000 degrees Celsius. Others preserve sudden destruction layers dating back 3,000 years. Each site hints at catastrophic moments in human history. But the evidence does not point to a single global apocalypse. Some disasters may have been massive fires during ancient wars. Others may have been cosmic airbursts, like the 1908 Tunguska event. Some cities likely collapsed because of drought or shifting climates. And some mysteries may simply be the result of misunderstood archaeology. But taken together, these ruins reveal something important. The ancient world was not calm, stable, or predictable. Civilizations that lasted 500 years could disappear in a single generation. Entire cities could vanish within decades. Some of those catastrophes burned hotter and faster than we often imagine. The archaeological record preserves only fragments of those moments. Fragments of destruction. Fragments of civilizations lost thousands of years ago, and perhaps reminders that history still hides far more than we fully understand.